start at a new place, you are starting from scratch. Hi, I'm Danielle and I manage the distribution center at Numi Tea. One thing I noticed when I started at Numi is that people were working as individuals. They weren't working as a team. There wasn't a sense of urgency that everyone was aware of. They were just individuals with individual tasks, and I needed to change that to a supply chain, a team, people that are aware of dates, and all together as a group. We fail and we succeed together. Barbara, which ones are your international packages?
The one up front.
So how many do you have?
3 altogether.
And your documents are good? You've got it attached?
Oh, yeah.
These
I
are
got my
the
labels
EDI?
for the women's event that
Okay.
we got going on. That's
Okay,
it.
and then have you done the end of day?
Yep.
All good? Okay. So now we can load?
Yep. Everything seems to be getting out a lot faster. Everything seems to be going a lot smoother than it was for a while there.
A little skeptical, wasn't too sure of her background and all of that, but I feel like I accomplished more at the end of the day. It's great having her here.
It's interesting. I will share with you, Danielle came into a very turbulent, to use your word, situation. I'm Cindy Graffert, Customer Service Manager here at Numi Organic Tea. She replaced a manager that everybody loved. That team loved that person because she was their friend. And I think that the business demands changed. And unfortunately, her skill sets weren't enough to carry her into this new world. But fortunately for Danielle, in a very quick time, she was able to, through her communication, through her expertise in the area of managing a distribution center, win that team over. And I think that, you know, the difference between Danielle and the other manager is flexibility, you know, not being so rigid in the sense that this is the way we've done business, this is the way we have to do business as we grow. It's being able to recognize that we're a living, breathing organism here and that we need to change organically as the business changes as well.
She's done this before. She's been in a company that's growing as fast as we are, and she's been in a company in the same growth cycle that we are in. Hello, I'm Brian Durkee, the Director of Operations for Numi Organic Tea. So the experience is something that's really key, but I think another thing is she's really a calm and assertive leader. And that calmness and that assertiveness is something that the people really grabbed onto and followed. And her leadership is really the primary thing that's changed how the organization runs in regards to distribution.
One big misconception is that a manager is someone that oversees, you know, activity. I think for me, management is being involved with the activity. One thing that I try to do is I try to do what I ask folks to do. So if I assign you something, I have done it before myself and I have a good idea as to how long it will take, what your challenges will be when you're doing that as well. If you just assign a task and walk away, then you didn't experience what your team member did and you don't really gain any knowledge. You'll do it the same over and over and over. But if you're involved, you'll adjust and you'll be faster, and they'll feel that they're involved and they'll become faster, and they're more involved in the output, they're more involved in the outcome.
Being efficient versus being effective. I think they go hand in hand. Honestly, I don't think they're in conflict with one another. Efficiency comes with finding processes and or introducing technologies. That's how you're going to find efficiencies. It's constantly reviewing the processes that are in place and how you might be able to improve those. By improving your efficiencies, you open up time. And time is what's needed to be effective.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the proper tray for this, because in a last minute situation, Costco is going to want us to put these into actual trays. And I pulled out a few of the trays here that we're looking at. And this was the 6-count tray, but I believe it was for a different item. We offer a wide variety of products to a wide variety of customers. I'd really rely on our distribution center manager, Danielle, to be innovative any way she can to make this process efficient. So a big part of her job, and what I look to her for, is to create saneness out of chaos.
In a very small company and in a very growing business, turbulence should be expected. It kind of shakes up the organization a little bit and we have to scramble to make it happen. But to me, that's not a bad thing.
Oh, I'm always looking days ahead with as much information as I can. Often you can't control how fast your freight travels. You try to have schedules, but weather can affect that, demand can affect that. Right now, one big challenge we have is getting containers from China. The United States is not importing as much, so the containers aren't available for me to export.
We had heard loud and clear during a 2007 survey from our customers that our lead times were not competitive. and that they would, without hesitation, go to a competitor. Before Danielle got here at Numi, orders that shipped via container could take up to 15 days from the time the customer approved their order before we could actually get it on the water or on the rails. We're averaging 5 days now. Oh my gosh, I'll tell you, Siri and Jen are going to be so jazzed to try and get this in before the end of month. Is going to mean the world to them. Something that happened today. We have a large international customer. In fact, he's a distributor throughout the United Kingdom. And he has been sitting on a very large order that will need to ship via a container. And we don't have a container here yet. Prior to this, I would have to say to the customer no. But because Danielle fully understands the need to be competitive and fully understands the time constraints with our international orders, she has changed the operations to do something that's called a live load, which was a great surprise for me today because I was anticipating the worst when I went to her with this challenge. Live load means that when the container gets here, she has her team set to have that loaded within an hour, which is amazing. It's remarkable. I mean, and I was so surprised to hear that she had implemented that type of a drastic change to a very critical part of our business.
Did you hear back from Cindy about the international? What's her decision? Are we going to ship it before the 1st? I think the way that I've drawn people into the big picture here at Numi is when you are adjusting to a change you need to make, is making sure that your staff is aware of the reason behind it, so that way when they go to execute it, they understand the importance behind it. I really try to empower them to execute, so I need to make sure that they're trained and that they understand why we are doing things the way we are doing. And if they have a better suggestion or have some input, I definitely want to pay attention to that. And if I can't use their suggestion, I want them to understand why.
If you're a compartmentalized manager and you're a non-collaborative manager, this isn't the place to be. It takes all of us to run Numi.
A manager like Danielle can impact the entire organization tremendously. She has more direct reports than anyone in the organization. So by simply having a true manager who can come in and manage efficiency, it's the epitome of people working smarter, not harder.
When I started this company, I was less focused on social ventures. I'm Eric Hudson, founder and president of Recycline. I wanted to create a sort of an anti-common business environment. I wanted it to be casual, but I also had business training. I had an MBA. So it was about developing systems and running an efficient business, but letting go of the sort of the basic stiff culture that I saw in business at that time. That was a key element.
The Preserve brand is absolutely a reflection of what happens inside our company. I'm C.A. Webb and I'm the marketing director here at Recycline. You know, when I first met with our design firm and talked about our sort of refreshed brand identity and what our logo would look like and our tagline would sound like and our creative, messaging would be, I talked about how we all get to work. Eric drives his biodiesel car, I take the commuter rail, Alyssa bikes in, Justin, runs in. I talk about who we really are as people and the way we work together, and down to, if it's warm outside, you're not going to catch any of us with lace-up shoes. We're here in flip-flops and Birkenstocks. That's just who we are. And what do we do on the weekends? Most of us are outside, enjoying being outside, and that's really who we are as a company. And it's important to us that we work in recycled materials. We're rough around the edges. We're not a cool, sleek. We're cool, but we're not sleek and smooth. We're real and we're grounded, and we're a little dirty sometimes. And we absolutely want to convey the reality of who we are as people coming together to make great products in the way we express our brand.
Yeah, I think the process at Recycline is quite different than where I have worked previously with multinational corporate companies. I am John Turcotte. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Recycline. first of all, we're very small, and we're quite collaborative. We need to be quite collaborative because we are so small. Unlike the corporate world, I think that the entrepreneurial slant is to, hey, we got to get these things answered today. So our decision-making process is I think quicker, and we pull together the resources we need to solve a problem, and we get it done, and we move on to the next thing. We just don't have the luxury of being able to let it drag on anymore.
We're small enough that there's more things to get to than we're ever going to get to. My name is Ben Anderson, and I head up product development and product management at Recycline. It's a company where if you want to do something, you have the opportunity to get involved with it. So you still have to do your core job, but if you're interested in advancing some new initiative, you can take it on and move it forward. And you don't necessarily have to have a background that maps to being a product manager at Gillette in order to come in and influence the product strategy here. What that brings is ambitiousness and creativity that somebody who's come from a big company, that they may have the blinders on, and so maybe sometimes we're naive or overly ambitious, but we're going up against Gillette and Procter & Gamble and other big brands that are incredibly well resourced. So you need people who are adaptable and entrepreneurial.
What inspired me to develop the first product and start the company was a desire to start the company. I wanted to start a company on my own, and I had a concept of a new product, which was the toothbrush, and along with that, I married that with that an interest to develop products made from recycled materials. So there was a lot of recycling going on in the early 90s, but there wasn't necessarily products that were made from those materials that people were recycling. So I knew that the consumer or people in the world would have an interest in more products made from recycled materials.
I got another call from a big CPG company that wants to talk to us about potentially working with them to collect their products. Consumers don't want to throw them in landfills anymore, and they're looking at companies like ours that are taking recycled materials, turning them into something, cool, and wondering if we can do that, with their raw materials after their products are recycled. So, I think that the tricky thing about the space that we're doing business in is that there are a lot of people who still think this is fringe, that green products and mass interest in those products is I think there's a lot of skepticism still. And so what I have to do is parse which parts really are fringe and will stay, and which parts are going to have the ability to really transcend and become part of a reality. I do think that there are a lot of consumers in the world that are standing at the register asking questions about products that they weren't asking a couple years ago, and that's only going to become a sort of fiercer and more interesting conversation in the years to come.
There's no question in the last 2 years, the amount of press you read and the amount you hear about people seeking to be more environment friendly in their everyday lives is really blow away. And the biggest thing that I'm concerned about is whether it's going to have a negative backlash. I liken that and take confidence in the fact that I think that we will have some backlash if we're not having it already. I liken it to the .com world in the sense that I think there was a major bubble crash, obviously everyone knows, but after that, everyone had a laptop on their desk. So whenever people were all left standing, there was much more technology in everyone's lives. And I think this major backlash in the green market will come in the next year or two. And I think after that, we'll all realize that we've incorporated these green activities much more in our lives. It's going to be pervasive throughout the United States of America as well as the world.
I was skiing in Japan the year before last, and I was in conversation with somebody else. Someone asked me a question about Evo, and the owner of the lodge that we were staying in said, "Hey, what do you guys know about that company or Evo?" And I said, "Actually, I started it a few years ago. And my name is Bryce Phillips, and I am the founder of Evo." And he goes, "Oh," and he's like, "No way. I bought 3 pairs of skis from you, she bought her skis from you, and so did he. And like within this small room, 3 people in Japan, one was from the UK, one was from Canada but living in Japan, and the other one was, I think, from France, and they had all somehow interacted with what we do here in Seattle. So it's just like, it really hits home. You're like, oh my gosh, like you have that reach, and being on the web, it's, you know, the word travels, and your brand can travel, you know, very, very quickly.
Well, the fact that we're online means we're global. So audiences from all over the world are on our website. My name's Nathan Decker. I'm the Senior Human of E-commerce. Roughly 5% of our business happens outside of the US. We have the ability to ship anywhere in the world, and we do have customers in a lot of different countries. We don't ship a lot internationally aside from Canada. We are confined in some ways by a lot of our dealer agreements. Manufacturers are very careful as to who can sell their product and in what ways it can be offered. And they want to be able to control distribution in different countries so that A, they don't saturate a market too much, and B, so that the competition remains, you know, what they would deem fair. And so consolidating all of that to one particular vendor or retailer, I think is not beneficial to their agenda and their goals. So that's a big constraint at this point. And I think working through some of those partnerships and dealer agreements, I think is step one. Once we kind of work through that and get the green light from some of our bigger vendors, I think then it will become more of a strategic focus. If you want to order internationally from us, you have to call us up on the phone and we have to talk you through it.
I believe I have that.
There are taxes and duty issues that are different for every destination country because it is complicated, and there are different issues for different countries that our customer care team is a little bit more versed in. So tackling that on the website is a challenge. A, for what I mentioned with the brand restrictions, it's tough to, you know, it's just more complex to restrict certain brands on the website to ship internationally, and there are a lot of different shipping issues with regard to like different address formats, all kinds of different just little details that make it really complex. So we've kind of simplified to offer on the website domestic US shipping and Canada shipping, and then if you want to ship it anywhere else, you got to call us up over the phone. But one thing I will say is that the timing is often very challenging because although we have long customer care hours, we're not open from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., which is like the meat of the day in a lot of other countries. So sometimes the timing makes it challenging. So I think there's big opportunity internationally that we can tap, but there's just so many challenges, and there's a lot of other low-hanging fruit domestically that might have more return for us. So it's hard to kind of figure out where to put your resources.
So I was talking a little bit more with Kyle about EvoTrip, and I know that you have some ideas about Bali. Yeah. So I want to hear like what are the thoughts about that so we can kind of move forward.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, and we've seen it play out right now, you know, if you think that what we're doing here isn't affected or doesn't affect somebody, you know, in another country, or the economies are not tied in the way that they are, or, I mean, you're kidding yourself. Like everything we do, you know, whether it be something we buy, something we sell, something we invest in, is connected globally. And, you know, I think that, you know, what I've said from the beginning and that I have tried to really promote in every way is like, you got to get out there and just like, you know, touch and feel and experience these other cultures and these other places, because then you really start to see how this stuff plays out. I was in Bali last week, and I was touring a friend's factory where they make True Religion you know, shirts. So True Religion's this big hot brand, you know, and you sit by it at Nordstrom and whatnot. And here it is, this factory in Bali where there's, you know, say 60 up to 120 employees sewing these shirts that cost $200 at Nordstrom's in downtown Seattle. And it just like, it really like kind of hits home the fact that like everything that we're doing, everything we're buying, all this business we're doing, it is all so connected. Well, I mean, Bali, especially after, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, the place is unreal, and it has like all of the pieces. It's got, you know, incredible food and culture and all the things that like make a place new and exciting, but to be right on the water or right in the mountains within like minutes makes perfect sense.
So it'd be like ski, snowboard, ride basically in Japan, and then beach, surf in Bali. That's
yeah,
like
exactly.
EvoTrip is the travel arm of Evo, and it's a unique kind of fresh endeavor for us. It's something we've never done before.
The people that we sell to travel. I mean, they ski to travel, they surf, they snowboard, there's all these different things they do in different places, whether it be nationally or internationally. And knowing that that is something that they're doing, we're like, well, how can we bring a new service or a new product to this customer that we think that they're either are already doing, and B, we can add our twist and do something even more exciting. And it promotes kind of one of the values that we've always thought is important, getting out there, seeing things, experiencing things. And then if we can help a customer and take them to a place they wouldn't have known about, that gets them that more, much more excited or intrigued about that culture, that place, and for us that's like a really cool thing. And then from the business side of it, this is always just like figuring out how are you continuing to monetize this customer. What are the things, the goods and services, or the products that you're bringing to that customer that will that they could potentially use or take or buy, that will make to build for even a more solid foundation.
It's a really natural fit for our brand, but it's a very new challenge logistically. There's all these new details that we're trying to figure out. What are the best trips to offer, to what destinations, via what price points. We are working with a partner who is organizing a lot of the logistical details, and that's justfares.com.
Not only have they sold packages into some of these regions, but they have contacts in the regions, and so pooling resources based on where we've been, and that's how we came up with the trips. We came up with the trips based on what do we know about the area already? Had we been there? Did it seem different, unique, exciting? And then is it a viable place to kind of get a group to go to? So definitely they're bringing things to the table in that way, and then we have kind of our side of it, and that's kind of how we have what we have scheduled right now.
One thing that always strikes me strange about that day was that it was 7 o'clock in the morning. We were watching the weather, and the weatherman said, he said the conditions out here in the Oklahoma, Texas panhandle out here is really conducive to some enormous storms. And that was 7 o'clock in the morning. Hello, I'm Lonnie McCollum. I'm a former resident of Greensburg. I've worked around those things so much that, they've never really bothered me all that much. But my wife was really getting nervous, and she kept talking to me about, what are we going to do,
Your time is up. You need to be in your shelter right now. It is 9:47, and the arrival time at the very latest will be 9:50.
Obviously, the storms were rolling in. We heard the tornado warnings, went down to our basement. Like everybody else, we rode it out, went upstairs, looked at the top of my house, and saw my whole first level gone. And had no idea, the whole town was gone. I'm Steve Hewitt. I'm the city administrator for Greensburg, Kansas. What's good for Greensburg can be, to me, a start of how rural America accepts green. What we have to do, we have a responsibility to take this community and set a trend for rural America. So what we've done is the City Council passed a resolution that every facility, building it builds, it will build the highest level of green you can go.
It went down like a dose of castor oil at first. I know there was some comments made, well, I don't care about insulation, I just want a roof over my head. But that doesn't work out long term with what what the world's going to be in 25 or less time than that, 10 years.
We are the typical community in rural America. And if we can't do it, how can you expect these other communities in rural America to get it done? With the cost of fuel and the cost of energy in some areas and the struggle of our environment, building better buildings is important for our kids, for our future, for our businesses, for our town.
I really hadn't talked about it with anybody. It just really, my wife, and when I read to her the first line from the concept paper, which was saying, what if we turn this tragedy into something really beautiful, she burst into tears. Hello, I'm Daniel Wallach, Executive Director of Greensburg Greentown. Greensburg Greentown is a private nonprofit that's rooted in the community with a community board. The nonprofit provides information to those outside the community that want information on the Green Initiative. It provides information and resources to those inside Greensburg who are interested in the Green Initiative. We distribute products like the toilets that were donated and the shower heads, and just basic information when they're rebuilding, so everybody doesn't have to do research from scratch. We can do the research and distribute it to the 500 residents that need it, or the 100 businesses that need it. So it's really, our organization is all about resource conservation and wise use of those resources.
Just talked to Dave about the City Hall funding.
USDA? And?
At least $500,000.
A year ago, I just probably made some comment about a tree hugger or something. But I'm Kim Aldifer, and I'm the Recovery Coordinator and the Assistant City Administrator for the City of Greensburg. It's kind of the Midwest mentality to be good stewards of what you're given and to take care of the land that you're given anyway. And it all kind of fit together.
There are many success stories in Greensburg, but this is one of the best, because John Deere in rural America is a cultural icon, very well respected, and they have a huge economic impact on the community. And of course, everywhere you go, you see green and white tractors.
We're going to have a highly efficient plant when we're finished here. I'm Mike Estes, co-owner of BTI Greensburg. Our site, previous site I should say, was destroyed by the tornado on May 4th. It was the largest claim in our insurance carrier's history. Well, personally, I believe that building back green as the town of Greensburg and the community of Greensburg is a critical factor to our regrowth, if you will. Green is an excellent way to build. It's kind of like if you could start all over from scratch, how would you rebuild an entire community? Green is the thing that makes the most sense because of these days of energy, the energy crunch that's going on and the high prices of fuels. It makes common sense to let's go in here with a green build and take care of it. We looked at that as a business and said, you know what, that makes sense as a business to build that way also. We can support the city and at the same time build a model green dealership. Obviously we're green being John Deere anyway, but we can be a green dealer here and kind of pave the way, if you will, for a new generation of dealers of tomorrow. But that's something that I think we need to continue to market, if you will. We want to draw new industries here. I think it makes sense to draw green industries here. People can come in and manufacture green homes and green components for homes.
So it's economic development, and it's just an example of that synergy. Green and sustainability is not a club. It's not an elitist inside-outside movement. It's not all or nothing. We love those businesses and residences that are showcasing all the best, but that's not realistic for everybody. And instead of alienating those that feel like, well, if we can't be as good as they are, we're not part of the group. We want everybody to feel included. And as soon as somebody's participating, it increases the chances greatly that they're going to want more and more of it.
Learning about all this stuff has very much opened my eyes. My name is Alexis Fleener and I'm a sophomore at Greensburg High School. You know, the idea of passing it on, pay it forward. I'm really interested in teaching other people different ways that you can make your city booming again, make it more energy efficient, save money, and attract tourists like we have with the green movement.
The city has to operate like any other business. Business-minded, thinking about investments, thinking about return on investments. And by doing that, we're in a better position financially to do the things that help us to exceed our growth and to grow in the future and be more prosperous. I've got 4 to 5 businesses actually talking to us about green industrial economics in this community. And that is that's jobs, that's future jobs, and professional jobs, that's green collar jobs. That's important.
much was it? 15,000?
It was a reorder for 15,000.
And do you know when they want it delivered?
I think 3 months.
Is Betsy going to be upset because we're taking it from Corey?
No, we're buying additional merchandise.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's
from
good.
Hong Kong.
Great. Okay.
And we also got an order from Tokyo.
Japan? Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So he's really happy.
Oh, good. In addition to the 15?
Yeah, I think a $2,000 order for Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
I pretty much set the flight plan here at Flight One. I'm Brad John, the co-founder of Flight One. Our 10-year birthday is a very big milestone for us. 10 years. Our next big goal is to open many stores in the US, to go international, and to really become the travel authority throughout the world. That's our kind of next step. We kind of look at our goal setting in different ways. For John and I, my business partner, we have goal setting for 5 years, because that's not really that long in a business. We have planned to do a certain amount of business in 2008. Because of the current economy, we're not doing exactly that amount of business. Well, all my financial plans are based on doing X amount of business. So now I have to re-plan because I'm not doing that business. So it's just like if you have your own bank account and or your paycheck, each week you're gonna get X amount. And if you plan to spend all that money, but now you don't have it, something has to change. I don't think it's gonna affect store openings, but it may affect other things about how much merchandise I'm gonna buy or hiring a new person tomorrow, things like that. And that's part of retail. Of course, we wanna be in every major city, all over the country right now. We're on the East, Midwest, and West. We want to go to the South, we want to go to the Northeast. We're very close to signing some deals in Australia and Japan. And right now, internationally, we have a shop in Harvey Nichols in Dubai. We are planning to open 25 to 30 stores in the next few years.
If we grew that rapidly, obviously we would need to restructure the corporate level first before we could attempt to work with the stores at that kind of volume. And Brad and I discuss that a lot anyway. We're always talking about, in a year, if things are different, what would we do? If we suddenly sped up, what would we do? So we're talking about that all the time. My name is Emily Griffin, and I manage crew development for Flight One. I think that as I've grown with the company, I've learned more and more how to plan, and I've realized that my role is increasingly that of a planner instead of a doer. I think when we were smaller, I was more of a doer, and now I need to take a top-down view and be more of a planner. And I've just learned from experience. I've just learned from not planning and having things go wrong. Being completely caught off guard, being wrong, realizing that my judgment was faulty. All of these things have happened to me and probably will in the future, and that's how I've learned to plan. It's unfortunate. I hate just reacting, but I guess my goal is that eventually I'll have reacted enough that I have better plans in place for the future. So at a certain point, everything will be moving a little bit more efficiently, and I won't miss a beat.
How about Berkeley, though?
Well, Berkeley would be okay because Liz can move and take over the Berkeley store. I think it's really going to play out, and as long as we really communicate with all the stores about what's happening, I think.
And how about financially? Is it going to work out for us? Everyone fits into all the...
Yep, we ran the numbers, and I think the most important way that I'm involved in helping Flight One plan for expansion is by stocking the fish pond. That's how I think of it. I really try to make sure that I have really strong assistant store leaders and really strong sales associates in other stores that I can identify that I can pluck to be leaders in our new stores as they open. I ideally do not want to be in a situation where I have to hire externally for a new store. Our culture is so specific, and the way that we run our business is so specific that it works so much better to put a leader in place that already knows Flight One through and through. That I'm really always thinking about what assistant store leaders do I have in the pipeline that we can promote, and then what sales associates can then take their place. So it's a constant progression.
In this 10 years, this has been our learning process. So now we've learned how to open stores efficiently. We have the crew to do it. We have the momentum. So we really feel confident that we can open 5 to 10 stores a year. 2 years ago, we opened 3 stores in 1 year. Not by choice, it just kind of happened, but we did it.
I think that the prospect of suddenly opening 20 new stores in the course of a year definitely makes me feel overwhelmed. I'm taking it one step at a time, but so far the maximum we've opened in 1 year has been 3. So it would be a really big jump, and I think that I can handle coordinating all the hiring and all the HR processes involved.
We've been very busy opening stores. We haven't begun to touch the product. Hi, I'm John, co-founder of Flight One. The product is our core competency. That's how we met, design and development. So we're very familiar with the process and we know what needs to happen. And at the moment, a very small percentage of the product assortment is our brand.
Having our own product line really is the future of Flight One. It's going to be the base of our whole business. First of all, because it's a great product. Second of all, because you can't find it anywhere else. And third of all, we want to be the authorities on travel. So to be the authority on travel, I have to have my own product. You know, we hope to, in the very near future, to make our own line of luggage, you know, and make it the greatest luggage in the world. You know, that's our focus is really to become the gurus of travel in all respects.
We gathered up over there in the corner of the basement, and a lot of debris started flying around, and I said, well, I think maybe the house was coming apart. And I thought, you know, meaning we're losing shingles and stuff like that. But, hello, I'm Lonnie McCollum. I'm a former resident of Greensburg. Once I got up into our kitchen there, it was, I could see the sky, so I knew this is not good.
Tornadoes are like hit and miss. One house good, one house gone, this house fine, not touched. No. This was a war zone. My name's Steve Hewitt. I'm the city administrator for Greensburg. Before the storm, I think we had put ourselves in a position that we're trying to look at new ways to be a better town. One of the things we began to look at was being more efficient, more effective, less waste in our materials and what we do. Unfortunately, we weren't building many new buildings, and new construction wasn't happening in a small town out in rural America out here in Kansas before the storm. After the storm, you have a blank canvas, new direction needs to happen. How can we take it?
In the end, we lost 3 homes and 3 businesses, 3 homes and 3 businesses. I'm Alana and I'm a Greensburg resident. We didn't question it much as to whether we were going to leave. We wanted to stay here because we loved the people, we loved the community for what it was. About 2 weeks after the storm, the mayor at the time, Lonnie McCullen, said that the city was going to rebuild green. That was kind of the definite, yeah, we're going to stay in Greensburg. We want to be pioneers of this green city and help them rebuild it. I had gone to a lot of meetings after the tornado to be there to see what was going on, voice my opinion when it was needed, and I was just really pleased at the way things were going.
You know, I think it's exciting. Where are you going to go in rural America that you have a brand new town? I'm Farrell Allison and I'm a Greensburg resident. You have brand new school, brand new city buildings, brand new museums, brand new dealerships, brand new homes. Where can you go? You know, you can't go anywhere. When you just town's destroyed like this one, you know, why not do it the best you can? Why not, instead of going with an 85% efficient furnace, why not go for the best? Because it's a few dollars more, you know. You just have, you know, I think it's the right thing to do.
There never was given to us as a choice whether we wanted our town to go green or not. I'm Janice Haney. I'm a resident of Kiowa County, and our address is Greensburg. They'd hold these town hall meetings and they'd all want you all to come, but when it was time to actually have any comments, they'd shut you down and just like walk away like, we don't want to hear what you people have to say.
I never felt like the community ever felt like we had to have a massive vote. How many people would say, what does green mean? So no. Education had to happen. What we had to do is have a series of events where people could come in and give their input. I need to know what you want to see in your community. I need to know what your future look like. How do you feel about parks? How do you feel about energy? How do you feel about your buildings? How do you feel about your schools and your hospitals? Those kind of meetings had to happen. So if you wanted to be involved about your community, you had an opportunity to be involved. And then from that, then the city council then could then vote on exactly what the people were telling them. And they voted that we're gonna go green, we're gonna go sustainable. And then they went another step forward. They said, you know what, we're gonna show the world, we're not just talking about going green, we're gonna implement that. And they passed a resolution that states every single facility that the city builds is gonna be the highest sustainable level you can go.
I just don't believe in some of the decision making has been what we really truly needed. We should be more concerned about getting downtown businesses put up that actually gonna support our tax base. Instead of, you know, we're worried about, well, we don't have the funding for this platinum green building, we don't have money for that one. I don't think at this point we should be worried about that. And everybody says, oh, you're just being negative. Well, I don't know, is it being negative or is it being realistic about the situation that's upon us? I worry about, you know, are we going to be able to afford the taxes on our land because they're going to tax us so high because they are putting things in that at the same time, is it really necessary at this time to do it like that?
You have a return on investment, but what you have to do is fight through this initial, oh my goodness, it costs $1 million more to build this building. Okay, it does. Every decision we make is not a decision that's just going to affect us over the next 10 or 20 years. We're making 100-year decisions.
There's all kinds of different ways to solve problems, but you have to understand they may all work. You know, a problem's a problem. It's how you design to solve the problem that will determine how successful you are.